There is a specific kind of agony that we don't have a good word for. It isn't the pain of physical injury. It isn't even the pain of heartbreak. It is the deep psychological torture of seeing a disaster coming, screaming for everyone to stop, and being watched by a crowd that simply keeps walking toward the cliff. In Greek mythology, there was a prophet named Cassandra. She was given the gift of seeing the future, but cursed so that no one would ever believe her. She had to watch her city burn, knowing she had the answer the whole time. We call Thanos the Mad Titan. When we look at him, we focus on the gauntlet, the purple skin, the snap that wiped out half of all life. We look at the scale of his violence and we categorize him as a monster, but his true power, the thing that makes him arguably the most compelling character in modern cinema, wasn't his physical strength, it was his conviction. Thanos is the ultimate terrifying personification of a very human experience, the burden of being the only one who knows.
I'm the only one who knows that. At least I'm the only one with the will to act on it.
Today, we aren't going to look at a comic book villain. We are going to look at the psychology of the visionary, the trap of the Messiah complex, and the dangerous, intoxicating drug of vindication. We're going to ask ourselves, if you knew the world was ending and the world laughed in your face, how far would you go to save them from themselves? Long before the Infinity Stones, long before he was a warlord carving his way through the galaxy, Thanos was a citizen. He was a thinker, a scientist. He looked at the data of his homeworld, Titan, and he saw a simple, terrifying equation. Too many mouths, not enough resources. The math was failing. But logic is a remarkably cold companion in a room full of politicians. When Thanos proposed his solution, random, dispassionate culling to save the whole, he wasn't met with a debate. He wasn't met with a counter-argument. He was met with exile. He was cast out as a lunatic.
Too many mouths, not enough to go around. And when we faced extinction, I offered a solution.
Genocide.
But random, dispassionate, fair to rich and poor alike. They called me a madman. And what I predicted came to pass.
Think about what that does to a brilliant mind. Imagine standing in the living room of your burning house holding a bucket of water, while your family sits on the couch and tells you the fire isn't real. That kind of gaslighting doesn't just make you frustrated. It breaks something fundamental inside of you. It breeds resentment, and more dangerously, it breeds a superiority complex born out of pure survival. When Titan finally fell, when the screams he predicted finally materialized, and his people starved to death, Thanos didn't feel sad. He felt justified. And vindication is the most dangerous emotion a human being can experience. Because once you are proven right about a tragedy that everyone else denied, a dark seed is planted in your mind. You decide, right then and there, that you never need to listen to anyone else ever again. You decide that the rest of the universe is made up of children, and you are the only adult in the room. Notice how Thanos interacts with his enemies. He rarely insults them. He doesn't revel in their pain like a traditional villain. He speaks to them with a strange, heavy, fatherly respect. When he meets Tony Stark, he doesn't call him a fool. He says, "You're not the only one cursed with knowledge."
Stark.
You know me?
I do. You're not the only one cursed with knowledge.
Why? Because Tony is his mirror. Tony Stark also saw the end of the world coming during the Battle of New York. Tony also tried to build a suit of armor around the world with Ultron, and it blew up in his face. Tony was called a madman by his friends too. Thanos looks at Tony and sees a brother in arms, another man burdened by the curse of seeing the bigger picture. But this is the trap of the Messiah complex. When you believe you are the only one who sees the truth, you stop seeing people as individuals with their own autonomy. You start seeing them as variables in your grand equation. Thanos believes he is making the hard choices that the universe is too cowardly to make.
The hardest choices require the strongest wills.
We do this in our own lives, don't we? In much smaller ways. Have you ever stayed in a toxic job because you told yourself, without me, this place falls apart? Have you ever controlled a relationship because you believed you knew what was best for your partner? We wrap our arrogance in the language of altruism. We carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. Not because we have to, but because our ego is desperately addicted to the feeling of being essential. Thanos is what happens when that exact human ego is handed the power of a god. If Thanos was truly just a machine of logic, he would be uninteresting. But the film forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. He is capable of deep, profound love. And that is what makes Vormir the most devastating scene in the franchise. The Red Skull tells him that to get the Soul Stone, he must lose that which he loves. Gamora thinks she is safe, but Thanos cries. Not for her, he cries for himself. He cries because he realizes the universe is calling his bluff. This is the ultimate test of his ideology. If he turns back, if he saves his daughter, It means the destruction of Titan was just a tragedy. It means he isn't a savior. He's just a guy who lost his home. But if he pushes her off that cliff, then everything is justified. In economics, there is a concept called the sunk cost fallacy. It's the tendency to follow through on a terrible endeavor because we have already invested too much time, money, or blood into it. Thanos cannot stop. He has already sacrificed his reputation, his home, and now his child. He has to snap his fingers, because if he doesn't, all of that blood is on his hands for nothing. He isn't driven by destiny anymore. He is driven by the terrifying need to prove that his trauma wasn't pointless. At the end of his journey, Thanos finally rests. He sits on a beautiful, quiet farm. He watches the sun rise on a grateful universe. He won. He beat the Avengers. He executed his plan flawlessly. But look at him. Really look at him. He is scarred. His arm is ruined, and he is completely, definitively alone. He won the argument against the universe, but he lost everything that made him a person. This is the dark side of being right. You can be completely mathematically correct. You can diagnose the problem perfectly. But if your solution requires you to carve out your own heart, you didn't save anything. You just created a graveyard and called it peace. We live in an era where everyone wants to be the only one who knows. We retreat into our echo chambers. We look at the other side of the political aisle, the other generation, or even our own families, and we decide that they are blind, and we are the visionaries. We cut people out of our lives because they don't see the world exactly as we do. Thanos is a warning. He is a monument to the tragedy of unchecked certainty. He teaches us that intellect without empathy is just another weapon of mass destruction. Recall this: it is a beautiful thing to fight for what you believe is right, but the moment you decide that you are the only one capable of saving the world, you have already started destroying it. It is better to be a human who is sometimes wrong than a God who is always right but always alone. What do you think? Comment below. Subscribe for deeper stories behind your favorite films.